Hey everyone, and welcome. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through today's explainer, where we're unpacking some truly groundbreaking research titled Beyond the Classroom: Predicting Student Success with AI. So let's just dive right into it. For decades now, our education systems have operated on a pretty reactive basis, basically waiting for a student to stumble before offering a hand. But what if we could flip that entirely? Today, we're exploring how leveraging AI-driven predictive analytics school data is allowing educators to completely transform learning. We're talking about moving from a reactive scramble at midterms to a proactive, highly targeted support system before the semester even begins. It's a real game changer.
Picture this for a second. What if we could predict academic risk before the first test is even taken? The stakes of early academic intervention are, well, they're absolutely massive. Usually, a student struggles in silence for weeks, right? They eventually bomb a midterm, and literally only then does the system trigger some sort of alert. By that point, the mountain they have to climb just to pass the class is often way too steep. But if we can predict that risk on day one, we completely change the trajectory of that student's academic life.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to hit Section 1, the traditional grading problem. Then Section 2, enter the AI model. Next up is Section 3, the socioeconomic pull, followed by Section 4, the power of preparation, and we'll wrap the whole thing up with Section 5, proactive AI strategies.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the traditional grading problem, lagging indicators and blind spots. To really get this, we need to talk about a fascinating concept, the lagging indicator. In education, a final exam is pretty much the ultimate lagging indicator. It tells us that a student has failed long after the damage is already done. Think of it kind of like a medical autopsy rather than a preventative screening. Sure, it diagnoses the exact cause of failure, but it's way too late to administer a cure. And because educators are forced to rely on these lagging indicators, they're left with this massive blind spot. They just don't have visibility into the compounding socioeconomic factors that are already, silently pulling a student's grade down during those crucial early weeks.
So this is a massive paradigm shift. In the old way, reactive grading, we essentially wait for the bad grades to roll in, usually intervening around, say, week 10. By then, the student is totally discouraged, and the math required to pass is just daunting. Contrast that with proactive intervention. Using AI-driven predictive analytics school data, we can predict that exact same risk at week 1. We're moving from a system that passively waits for failure to a system that actually anticipates the need for support.
Which perfectly brings us to Section 2. Enter the AI model, data-driven diagnostics.
So, how did they actually pull this off? Well, data scientists had to replace human bias with objective, historical facts. Here's exactly how they built the model. For the dataset, they analyzed 1,000 students, and they didn't just glance at past grades, they fed the model demographics, socioeconomic indicators, and academic scores. The engine they deployed to process all this is called a logistic regression machine learning model. The true beauty of this specific type of AI is its ability to chew through incredibly complex, multi-layered data and identify hidden patterns that a human counselor, no matter how good they are, simply wouldn't be able to spot just by looking at a class roster. And the magic number in all this data? It's 60. The researchers created a composite score combining math, reading, and writing. If the AI model predicts that a student's composite score will drop below 60, the system flags that student as at risk. This threshold is basically the tripwire for the entire early warning system. It's objective, it's strictly mathematical, and best of all, it's calculated before the student even sets foot in the classroom.
Let's move on to Section 3, the socioeconomic pull, uncovering hidden patterns, where we get to see what the AI actually diagnosed.
When the AI model finally finished crunching the numbers on those 1,000 students, it delivered a diagnosis that was honestly pretty striking. Get this. Lunch type proved to be the #1 strongest predictor of academic success. Now, in educational data, lunch type, whether a student gets a standard lunch or qualifies for a subsidized lunch program, that acts as a standard proxy for household income. The machine learning model, looking purely at the cold, hard math without any human preconceptions, identified this single socioeconomic indicator as the most powerful statistical force acting on a student's future performance.
To put that into perspective, the probability of passing is mathematically much, much higher for students on standard lunch programs compared to their peers on subsidized programs. What's truly fascinating and, frankly, a bit sobering about this data point is that the AI found this income proxy overshadows even parental education levels. We almost always assume that a parent's education is the ultimate driver of a student's success, right?
But the AI-driven predictive analytics school data proved that the socioeconomic reality, represented here by lunch type, carries a substantially heavier statistical weight.
All right, let's flip to the academic side of things in Section 4, the power of preparation, the heaviest anchor.
So if lunch type was the strongest overall predictor, the model also pinpointed the strongest negative factor, the thing that pulls a score down the absolute fastest. Turns out, the absence of a test preparation course is the strongest negative factor in the entire model. Think of this like the heaviest anchor attached to a student's potential. Not taking a prep course drastically pulls down their probability of success. It acts as this massive weight on their final composite score, practically guaranteeing they're going to hit that at-risk threshold below 60, especially if they're also facing those socioeconomic headwinds we just talked about.
So what do we actually do with all this information? That leads us straight into Section 5, Proactive AI Intervention Strategies, Actionable Leadership.
Okay, let's talk actionable solutions, because data is really only as good as the policy it inspires, right? The first major recommendation for school administrators is to attack that heaviest anchor directly through subsidized preparation. The data tells us exactly what to do here. Schools absolutely must aggressively subsidize test prep courses. Furthermore, they need to mandate these prep courses specifically for students who are entering the system with lower socioeconomic indicators. By doing this, leadership effectively removes the financial barriers to early success. You're neutralizing the strongest negative factor in the AI model before it even gets a chance to drag the student down.
Let's see how this builds into a complete, school-wide system. Here are the exact steps to deploy an AI early warning system. Step 1. Run AI profiling during enrollment. Don't wait for classes to start. Run the demographic and historical data through the model immediately. Step 2. Flag high-risk combinations. For instance, the model specifically noted that male students from low-income brackets who haven't taken prep courses are at an incredibly high statistical risk. Step 3. Mandate Week 1 academic counseling. When those students are flagged, they don't get a warning letter in Week 10. They get a counselor's appointment in Week 1. That right there is the very essence of proactive intervention.
The researchers arrived at a really powerful conclusion. By addressing the root statistical causes of failure early, we can improve overall school passing rates and student well-being. That last part is absolutely crucial. This isn't just about boosting a school's institutional metrics or, making a district look better on paper, though it for sure achieves that. It is fundamentally about student well-being. By utilizing AI to decode these hidden patterns of struggle, we save students from the stress, the anxiety, and the heartbreak of falling irreparably behind. We're finally treating the disease, not just treating the symptoms. I want to leave you with one final thought to reflect on today. If your school knew exactly who needed help before the front doors even opened, how would it change the future of education in your community? The technology and the AI-driven predictive analytics school data are literally already here to make this a reality. Transitioning from reactive grading to proactive care is completely within our grasp. It really just requires the willingness to look at the data, trust the modeling, and act on it from day one. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I will see you next time.